Well, I'm pleased to say that Bernd Lange, MEP and chair of the Committee on International Trade, joins us now. Bernd, good to see you. I just wonder, given that this has gone through the member states' parliaments and this was the ratification process, do all the member states agree with your committee's decision to pause the progress on this?
I think there's a big support inside the European Union, because with this deal from Scotland last year, we wanted to have really stability and predictability. And unfortunately, the government, the President of the United States, has really made a breach of this deal several times. And specifically now, we have 15% plus the normal tariffs. So we have, for example, cheese, not tariffs by 15%, it's now 30%. And this is clear a breach of the agreement. So there is a big support inside the European Union.
What do you say, though, to European businesses that import and export who'd say, yeah, the tariffs are not a great situation, but they now have even less certainty and predictability and stability than they would otherwise have if some sort of deal was in place? Yeah,
but we are sticking to the deal. A deal is a deal, no doubt about. But on the US side, there was a breaking. Some weeks after the deal was concluded, 400 products, the so-called derivatives, were lifted from 15 to 50%. And this is really harming a lot of small and medium-sized enterprises in Europe. Then we had this Greenland exercise, and now we have this 15 plus tariff. So this is a clear breaking on the side of the United States and several times. And this is not certainty. We are accepting the deal, even the deal is not perfect. But better a deal which is not perfect than uncertainty and no deal. We need clarity, and this is also my clear request from the United States government. Give us a certainty that for the next 3 years we have no other irritations with new tariffs from the United States, and then we stick to the deal.
But in this context, there are other countries that never negotiated trade deals, for instance, the Chinese. How does it feel when you look across at what the Chinese did, hold back, keep the line and just not negotiate? How does that compare to the European position in your view?
Of course, that's their tactic, and of course they have a different strategy and I guess also different markets. Now we are really depending each other on the proper trade between Europe and the United States. And listen, around about 1/3 of European products sold to the United States have a market share of 50% or even more. So there is a clear interlinking. And we want to stabilize this. And we want not go in a different direction. But of course, if it's needed, we are also ready to make a clear position and even sometimes, if necessary, to defend our interests with countermeasures.
But what is the specific approach when it comes to some of the higher tariffs that are in place still, the 50% on steel and also on aluminium? What happens in those areas?
Yeah, of course, this is really harming. Even the volume for steel and aluminium is not so big, and some special steels are still imported to the United States. But this, of course, increases the consumer cost inside the United States. So, but really more harming is this question of the so-called derivatives. So it's machinery, motorcycles, agriculture technique, which are now tariffed with 50%, and this is totally unacceptable.
Bernd, I just wonder what you thought of the president's negotiating style. I mean, we're all really confused, you amongst us, I'm sure. He's implementing 10%. He told us he was going to implement 15%. We don't know if it's 10 or 15% as well. I just wonder what you thought about the US style of negotiation, how chaotic it is.
Of course, in April last year, he used this illegal legal ground to give also pressure in a different way to different countries. And this is luckily, with the ruling of the Supreme Court, gone. And this new measure, based on Article 122, it's a clear limited possibility. He can't go more than 15% and limited to 150 days. And therefore, this momentum of pressure is gone. He can't really extend these tariffs. And this, of course, is a better negotiation position also for the European Union.
Is it time to use the ACI, the so-called bazooka, Bernd?
I would not call it bazooka. I was the rapporteur for this legislation. It's a normal legislation for a specific case. If one country is using tariffs, trade policy, investment policy as a coercive instrument, then we will use it. And in the case of Greenland, it was a case, 10% for coercive reasons to really give pressure to the European Union to bring Greenland to the United States. If this would stay, then we would use it. At the moment, I see not the case is given, but we have it on the table. If necessary, we will use it.